Welcome everyone to the RHEA's online lunch lecture series. In this lecture, as you know, Gianluca Cerrone, who is business development engineer at RHEA, and he is PMP and Prince2 certified. He will present the two most popular project management certifications and make a comparison between them. Before I give the floor to Gianluca, I would like to remind you that you can attend the lecture either from your computer or from tablets or phones using the Adobe Connect free application. If you face any technical difficulties, just write to me on chat and I will try to help. For those who may attend for the first time, the RHEA Lunch Lectures is an initiative within the company to bring together employees, clients, and friends for informative talks on current developments within the aerospace and security markets. The objective is to raise awareness of our projects and the skills of our international team. You will have the opportunity to ask any questions you may have after the presentation of Gianluca, with the audio being activated for all the attendees. During the lecture, you can also clarify any question you may have. You can type at the chat box at the right end of your screen. So Gianluca, welcome. Thank you for being with us to present this interesting topic that everybody hears about.
Thank you, Paulina. Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so Paulina introduced, I'm going to give you a glimpse actually of what Prince2 and PMP are. It's just a glimpse because if you know, you can have a one-week course on each of those certification. I know that maybe somebody already got the one or both of the certification. I can read the names in the attendees list. I know that some of the attendees are either PMP or Prince2 certified. Anyway, in case you have any comment, you can just interrupt me during the presentation. Maybe some of you is also more, I would say, fresh certified than me. I got the Prince2 certification in 2011 and the PMP in 2013. Now, let's start with a generic overview of this presentation, what I will say discuss. We will start with the definitions, because before talking about certifications and courses, we should also define what is a project and what is project management. Usually everybody knows what is a project. It's like this type of activities are felt from the people like common knowledge, like something that you always do in your everyday work. But then if you go and sit to one of these exams without studying or without having the proper experience, at the end you will not pass, because there are some processes, structure, wordings and products that you need to know to be involved in project management activities. Then after the definition, we will I will give you some Prince2 highlights. This will be really just glimpse. I cannot go in details. We have 1 hour time to compare two project management certifications, and there is not enough to go into the details of these two standards. Then we will describe the PMP. Then they have some slides about the differences and commonalities between these two certifications. Some conclusion and recommendation. We know that there is a question that I always got in the past. In fact, I also have a standard email that I have just to tailor a bit when somebody asks me this question, like, do you suggest me to do Prince2 or do you suggest me to do PMP? What it is about? How can I get certified? Where do I get it? Blah blah. Then there are some conclusion and recommendation about the two of them according to your needs. And then there will be some time to ask questions and talk a bit about it if you want. Actually, what I suggest is you just interrupt me during my presentation, also because it would be good, since we are talking about standard and processes. I want to avoid that people fall asleep or is focusing on the sandwich. Maybe you're eating a sandwich at this time. Then if you have questions, comments, or maybe you are a PMP or Prince2 certified that do not agree with something I'm saying, just intervene and let's discuss. I have the chat here on the right. I can see if somebody is writing any question, and there will be also, I think, Paulina flagging it if somebody is saying something. Then now let's start with the definition. I wanted to start with the one generic definition that then being as a starting point to go then to the Prince2 and the PMP. But actually already on the definition we have some differences between the two certifications. I start with the Prince2 definition. I read it just to be clearer, but I will not go during the presentation. I will not read all the line. But since we are talking about definition, I think it's good really to read it. Then Prince2 is saying that a project is a temporary organization that is created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products to an agreed business case. Now, as you can see, it's quite, I would say, clear of what is a project. We need to deliver. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt. Just I wanted to tell you, I think the sound is a bit slightly distorted. Maybe if you put the microphone slightly further.
Yeah.
Just, yes, just this. I think it will be perfect. Thank you very
much. Like this? Is it okay? Yeah. I hope it was understandable what I said before.
Yes, yes, very good. Thank you very much.
I just a bit distorted. Okay.
Perfect.
So we see that we have, what is a project? A project is an organization that has to deliver something according to a business case, according to a reason that we have. This reason can be internal to the organization, like, I don't know, like updating the network or redo the furniture of an office, or can be an external, like serving our customer and providing them like with deliverables according to their requirements. But there is one keyword in this project definition that is temporary. A project, in both, you will see also in the PMP, a project is something temporary. It's a clear start and a clear end. We can see differences between project implementation and nominal business operations. Sometimes you have operations managers that deal with projects, but the operations manager are dealing with, I call them permanent activities, because they will have below them project management with projects that are entering and exiting the, I would say, the business. While when you focus on one project, you go one level down, you will get one project that is a clear start and a clear end. Now, project management is then applied to the management of this activity. And as you can see here, the project management definition of Prince2 is quite detailed, because here in this definition they are already starting to mention the processes and the activity that we want to perform during a Prince2 project. You see there is planning, delegating, monitoring, control, motivation of those involved. They are already mentioning the human resources. It's quite detailed. And especially there are these 5 parameters that are quite important in the management of the project, of a project, that are time, cost, quality, scope, benefits, and risks. These are 6 important parameters that we will always monitor and check during the performance of the project. We will also mention them later. Now let's go to the PMP definition, but I actually say, I'm not writing PMP, I'm writing PMI, because PMP is just the certification. This definition and the standard you certify against is given by the Project Management Institute, by the PMI. And here we have, I would say, a simpler definition. A project is a temporary endeavor to create a unique product, service, or result. But also here, the keyword, temporary. The project is a temporary activity. The project is like organizing a football tournament, is building a satellite, designing a washing machine, organizing a party. You can use your standard to do any temporary activities that need to be delivered as a service or as a result. And here also the project management definition is linear, with the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and technique to project activities to meet the project requirements. As we can see, the PMI definition is a bit more generic than the Prince2, and already here we can see the difference among the two, because the PMI and the PMP are oriented to give you the credential, to give you the certification that you actually are a project manager, that you can lead and direct a project. The Prince2, on the other side, is a methodology. Is a methodology that you learn. When you get the Prince2 certification, you do not demonstrate to be a project manager. You demonstrate that you know the Prince2 methodology. While the PMP certification is given to give the credential, to demonstrate that you are actually able to be a project manager. Now, if we go to the next slide, I still see there are no questions on the definitions. I think we are clean, everything is clean. If we go on the, we start to describe the Prince2. First of all, we have the name. The name Prince is already an acronym that means Projects in Controlled Environment, and in this case 2, version 2. It's version 2 because the Prince methodology, that was the first one created, was applied only to IT and software project. Now, the Prince2 is the definition saying is a non-proprietary method that can be applied to any project, regardless the project scale, type, organization, and geography. Also here, you can apply Prince2 to your birthday party, to your football tournament, to your bike upgrade. There are generic processes that can apply to any activity that can be defined as a project. Now, who's certifying? Who's giving you the Prince2 certification? Is this organization, best practice organization called Axelos Limited. This Axelos Limited received the, I would say, the authority to provide the certification from the Her Majesty Cabinet Office. And from here, you can really understand that the Prince2 is really a UK thing. It's a widely recognized standard in UK, and now, okay, also outside UK. But the place of origin and where it's widely used is the United Kingdom. Now, it's actually a UK government standard. Axelos Limited is actually quite a famous certifying organization. They always do ITIL that we are not discussing in this presentation, but it's actually the best practice standard for provision of IT services. Now, if we look at the available certifications according to the Prince2 standard, we have 3 levels of certification. The foundation, that is actually is a theoretical qualification. It's quite generic. You apply the Prince2 methodology and you reply to multiple questions. I think they are like 75 questions. You reply to this multiple question according to the Prince2 theory. While the practitioner is a bit different, even if it's already a written exam with multiple questions, but you have a tailoring of the Prince2 methodology to a simulation of a project. You will have, I would say, a paper when a project is described, and you will reply to a multiple question to be in line with the Prince2 methodology. It's a sort of, I would say, paper practical exam. The foundation certification is always valid once you do it. The practitioner is valid 5 years. I got the practitioner certification in 2011, then in 2016 will expire. While there is a new certification, that is the professional, Prince2 professional certification, that was started in 2012, and this certification is really a simulation, a further level of simulation of the project. It's not a paper test, but you will be like 2.5 days in a room with some other Prince2 practitioner, and you will have a simulation of the project to get this Prince2 professional qualification. To pass these exams and get your certifications, you need to be in line with some standard, with some applicable documentation. These standards are the Managing Successful Project with Prince2, that is actually 2009. It's actually the book that I also used for my certification. It's fortunately still valid. And this is the applicable document, I would say, for the foundation and the practitioner exam. If you want to get also the professional exam, you also need to get the Directing Successful Projects. That is another standard that will be useful to get also the the professional certification. As you can see, this organization also, I think, a bit business oriented, always renewing the standard, leading you to buy new books, to book new exam, to pay new fees. Then I think when we choose to get the certification, we also need to be careful of the, of the expenses that are related if we actually really need this type of certification. Because anyway, these companies offer a service, and these services are anyway paid in different forms. Now let's go a bit more in details of the Prince2 methodology standard. And Prince2, as you can see here, Prince2 is actually a cake, it's a cylinder, and done from slices. Yeah, it's this actually picture is giving an idea in a very practical terms on how Prince2 methodology has been created and how it has been generated. We have 7 Prince2 teams that you can see on top of this cake, and you have 7 Prince2 principles on the bottom part of this cylinder. In the next slide, I list the 7 principles of the Prince2 that are not appearing, but now I can give you some words on each of these Prince2 teams. We see that we have the business case. The business case is actually the reason why we are doing this project. As we were mentioning before, the reason can be internal to the organization or external to the organization. Then we have the organization. The organization is actually how your team is done, and also the layers. Prince2 is also giving you guidelines on the reporting lines and the hierarchy and the responsibilities and the limits for each of the parameters you need to be dealing with at each level. Later we will also have a picture of an example of how a Prince2 project organization is done. Then there is quality. Quality is actually the way we choose the standards that our project shall follow, how we follow them, and how we control that we are following the standards, the tools and the products we have in place to follow the standard we have chosen. And there is plan. Plan is actually is related to our possibility to our approach to the project, how we plan the project, how we sequence the activity, how we define the activities. And also here we have some products and processes that Prince2 tell us to follow or to generate. Then there is risks. On risks, the Prince2 definition is quite clear. Also here, also the products to be generated are quite clear. Usually in the common knowledge, the risk is always been seen as something negative. Actually, in the formal Prince2 definition, the risk is not something negative, it's just an uncertainty. Now, this uncertainty can be either a threat or an opportunity. And in case of a threat, okay, we have something negative we have to mitigate, but in case of an opportunity, we have something positive we have encouraged in some way in the approach we have in our project. Now, in the usual work that we do every day, we never put risks. When we do a proposal, for example, for RHEA, we never put the risks as a positive thing, as an opportunity. We mention them somewhere else. We are still, I would say, far from using the standard definitions of these standards in our day-to-day life. But if we deal with some organization that is really following the Prince2 approach, and I heard that maybe NATO is starting to request people that are really Prince2 certified, we need to be careful and follow this approach. Risk is not a negative thing. Risk can be either a threat or an opportunity. Then there is change. Something that we always know, and they always told me in these courses. I do not have direct experience because likely I'm still too young to have this huge experience. There are no project in history that never experienced change. Change is something we always to deal with. We really do. We are sure, actually, from experience, the experience has demonstrated that there are no projects that are going to finish with the same baseline they have been starting. Then you have to put a process in place to deal with change. And Prince2 is always giving you the instruments, the product, the processes to deal with change, to have documents change, baseline change. The change can come in from the business case, can come in from issues that you that are happens during the implementation of the project, can come from new risks that we see. And then there is progress. Progress is actually the way we monitor the famous 6 important parameters that we were seeing in the definition of a project of the project management from Prince2, that are time, cost, quality, scope, risks, and benefit. These 6 parameters are very important, and the boundaries for these 6 parameters are fixed at the beginning of the project, and you will see the project board. When the project is started, these parameters will get clear boundaries and responsibilities inside the team. Now, these 7 Prince2 teams that we have described are then all related to processes and products that the Prince2 is really giving us to develop. If your project is following the Prince2 methodology, is a Prince2 project, you will include products and processes from all these 7 teams. If you don't follow some of them, you are not having a Prince2 project. Now, how the processes that are applied to this project are generated, are defined through the integration of the needs coming from these 7 teams and the 7 Prince2 principles. And then we will generate lower level processes that we will use in the implementation of our project. Now, if we go to the next slide, we will read the 7 famous Prince2 principles that are also supporting us in the definition of the processes useful for the project implementation. Which are these 7 principles? The first one, continued business justification. In each time we are implementing our project, we need to make sure that we are doing the right thing. The project needs to be, to use an engineering term, the project needs to be validated. We are doing the right thing. The project is in line with the business case. Is what our customer asked, or is what our internal organization need asked. And at a certain checkpoints, we need to always make sure that the project is not diverging from the initial or the current, actually, because also the business case can change during the implementation of the project. Is not diverging from the business case. It's not diverging from the need, the business justification. Second, very important principle of Prince2 is learn from experience. The lesson learned process that we always see mentioned in a lot of these projects, we always need, when we start a project, to look at all the information we can get from similar projects. Get the lesson learned from other projects. Not start a project without having checked and reviewed similar project. We run the risk to either double the work that has already been done somewhere else. Second, do the same mistakes. The lesson learned are also there that new similar project will not do the same mistake of previous projects. Usually the organization we are in should have a consolidated, I would say, lesson learned database that you go to consult when you start a new project. Now, these things are always growing. It depends a bit also on the size of the organization. Can be done in a bit, I would say, practical way and not formal. In another organization that are bigger, there is really a formal check of the lesson learned from previous projects. But the learn from experience is one of the main principles of Prince2. Next one, define roles and responsibilities. This is also very important. We have hierarchy in the project structure. We will see it later. We have a clear hierarchy on who is the board, who has directing responsibility, who has managing responsibilities in the project, and who has delivering responsibility on the project, with clear boundaries in the different part of the projects that are assigned according to the famous 6 parameters: time, cost, quality, scope, risk, and benefits. You have the team member that has a certain boundary. You have the project manager that has a certain boundary. It's important, and you have the highest level, that is the project board. That is another level of this boundary, or actually functions. The roles and responsibilities are the various functions that are assigned inside of the project: the project manager, the project board, the project support, the change authority, the project assurance, the team members assigned to each of the deliverables of the field we are in. Next principle, manage by stage. When we manage a project in time, we need to define stages. As a minimum, a project, according to the Prince2 methodology, has 4 stages: start up the project, initiate the project, perform a stage, close the project. These are 4 main stages, but actually perform a stage can be many. You can have 5 stages, 6 stages, 7 stages, but at least there are 4. You start it up, you initiate it, you perform, you close. This can be seen in a lot of projects that we have day to day, especially not the smallest one, but you always have this clear definition of stages. Then there is managed by exceptions. This is not so intuitive as a principle, but is always related to time, cost, quality, scope, risk, and benefit. Means that at each level of the responsibility, you need to manage inside your frame of parameters. You shall not go outside your frame of parameters. It's very important because you have a frame of your budget, you have a frame of your cost, you have a frame of your time, of your schedule, and you shall not, I would say, invade the other part of the field according to this 7 parameter. This is why it's not so intuitive, because the manage by exceptions means that you manage because you know what to not take into consideration. You know what is actually not yours, and this is helping the efficiency of how the project is managed. Then focus on products. We've seen in the previous slide that all the Prince2 themes are related to processes and products that are generated in according to this methodology. There are a number of products that are internal products, external products, not only the deliverables we are giving to the customer, but also the internal products that we deliver, like a risk management plan, a configuration management plan, quality management plan, the issue report among the various I would say reporting lines among the different people and different functions that are in the project. We shall always link to each other. And then there is the tailor to suit the project environment. Prince2, we have seen, is a generic methodology. You apply to anywhere, anything. As we were saying, to your football tournament, to your party, to your satellite, to your washing machine, to your chair that you want to design. Then we need to tailor, because each project has different needs. Now, if you look at our beloved ECSS MST10C, that is the ECSS for space project management, you will see a lot of commonalities with Prince2. Now, I'm not saying here that the Prince2 is actually the methodology that's been chosen by the SCSS. This I never found anything flagging this relationship, but if you go through the CCSS, you will see a lot of commonalities, like for example how the team are organized, how the board is done, how the I would say the phases, the managed by stages. Our phase 0, phase A, phase B1, phase B2, phase CD, phase E is really managed by stages that are recommended by the Prince2 methodology. Now, if we go to the next slide, we finally see how a project team is organized according to the Prince2 standard. We have the first layer, the top layer, that is the corporate or program management. It's actually the one that is giving us the authorization to start the project, because we have seen a project can be started because of internal organization need, of external organization need, we have a customer, or actually, as you can see, program manager, or because it's part of a program. A program is I would say an integration of projects. Then our project can be part of a program, and then we have authorization from the program to start the project. Then we have the board, the project board. The project board is actually the ultimate accounted entity for the project, and it's done by the executive, that is actually the chair of this board, and is the ultimate responsible, the real ultimate responsible of a project according to the Prince2 methodology is not the project manager, but is the executive assigned to the project board. This is the person that is the real accountable for the implementation of the project, for the success of the project. The project manager is at the level below, is the one running around, putting together the things in his, I would say, frame of time, cost, quality, scope, risk, and benefit. But the one that is the decision power to go outside the boundaries in case of need, or actually to change the project manager, but the one that is the ultimate accountable for the success of the project is the executive that is chairing the project board. Certainly, the executive is not doing reports every day, organizing tag up with the team every day. This is the work of the project manager. The executive is checking the project at a certain point in time and will get reports from the project manager at a certain time, or when certain parameters are going outside the boundaries fixed for the project manager. This executive is supported by one or more senior users and one or more senior supplier that are people that are senior people as supplier or user of similar projects to the one we are implementing. Then we have the change authority, that is the one in charge of keeping track and approving also the changes, that is supporting both the project manager and the project board. We have the project assurance, that is making sure that the project is following the correct standard and everything is checked. We have the project manager that we have seen, that is the one at the center of everything. He will always is responsible of the day-to-day implementation of the project, and has a certain time, scope, cost, quality, risk, and benefit envelope in which he has to operate without having authorization of the project board. And then there are the team managers that are the one either doing the work directly or managing a team of people that is doing the work that is actually needed to deliver our project, to fulfill the requirements of our project. Now, if we go to the next slide, we see how everything is put together in a sort of Prince2 process model, where we also generated these processes. We have a number of processes that are defined by the Prince2, and these processes are starting up a project, directing a project, initiating a project, manage stage boundaries, because we're seeing a project is done by stages, and when you go from one stage to the other, Prince2 give us activities to be performed when you pass from one stage to the other. And then there is the controlling a stage, that is when you are actually performing the stage, and at the level of the project manager you are actually controlling the stage. But at the level of the delivering people, you are managing product delivery, that, as you've seen, is a process that is applied at one level down. And there is the closing a project. That is the process we apply when we are actually at the end providing the lesson learned, closing the contract, informing the stakeholders that the project is over with a certain activities. Now, as you see here, we have these 3 levels: directing, that is the level of the project board; managing, that is the level of the project manager; and delivering, that is the level of the team managers and the team members. These processes are all well defined in terms of activities and products. Something that the Prince2 is giving us a lot of products definition. You really know from Prince2 how to build the configuration management plan, how to build the risk management plan, how to build a project plan, how to build a quality management plan. It's really going into details of the products, also internal, not only external, because the external are given to you by the requirements of your customer, but then you need your own internal products to manage it, are given by the Prince2 methodology. Now, certainly here I'm not going into details of defining all the products or defining all the processes, because this is huge, and this is what is subject of a 1-week Prince2 course that you can do at a training provider, or actually is well explained in the applicable document that I was mentioning before. Now, this is the last slide for Prince2. Then I will start with the PMP. Are there any questions? I'm a bit worried because there is really zero movement and maybe people are sleeping. But there are... Okay. Then I go to the PMP definition, to the PMP highlight. Also here we have a definition that the project management professional is a credential that demonstrates that you have the experience, education and competency to lead and direct projects. There is a fundamental difference with Prince2. With Prince2 you learn the methodology. Here you are getting certified that you can be a project manager. The certification process is different. It's based on experience. We will see it later. It's not only based on theory and on methodology you learn. It's really a different type of certification. Who's certifying the PMPs? Is the PMI, the Project Management Institute, that is this international organization. I also put the links in this in this presentation for these 2 organizations, so you can just get there and check all the things that everything is explained in detail on the website. Certainly the manuals, like the project management body of knowledge, are not free. You will get them for free if you register for a training course. They are included in the training course, or if you are a PMI member, you can get the PM book for PDF for free as member. I got the 5th edition, even if the exam I took in 2013 was according to the 4th edition. I did the course and the exam according to the 4th edition. The 5th edition is something that is now available. If you go now to sit for the PMP exam, you will have to know the 5th edition. Now, next one. PMP is a standard that is provided by the Project Management Institute, and it's explained in this PM book that I was mentioning before, and is based on 5 project groups. These 5 project groups are initiating the project, planning the project, executing the project, monitoring and controlling the project, and closing the project. Something you have to be very careful is that these are not project phases. As you have seen before for the Prince2, we had a clear timeline of activities, and these processes were applied a bit everywhere, even if the processes were not phases. The phases were on top of the table. Here we have the same. These processes are not phases. They can be applied at any time during the implementation of the project. Then if you go for this exam, these are one of the tricky questions that are always there. They confuse you in a way that these are the questions confuse you. The standard is very clear. The questions confuse you that you have that these are phases where they are process groups. Are process groups that you apply whenever you need them in the frame of the implementation of your project. So next slide, we go to the eligibility requirements. I started with the process groups because you need to know them if you want to know if you are eligible to get the PMP certification. The PMI is making difference if in case you have a 4-year degree, a bachelor or higher degree, or if you don't. If you have a bachelor degree, and I think this is the case of most of the attendees of this presentation, you just need 36 months of unique, non-overlapping project management experience. Now, this unique project management experience does not mean that you are the project manager. The project manager, you can also be involved in project management activities without being the project manager, but at least 4,500 of these activities shall be spent in leading and directing the project. That means anyway being the project manager or somebody that has I would say that type of responsibility inside the project. This is a requirement to be able to sit at the exam. Another requirement to be able to sit at the exam is related to the 35 hours of formal education. This means attending a course. You just attend a 1-week course and you get these 35 hours. It's highly recommended to attend this course to get these hours in a PMP exam preparation course instead of doing something else. But in the theory of the PMP, you can also get these hours attending a Prince2 course that is giving you the formal education hours, and then you go and take the PMP course. This is actually not recommended. Just get your course before going to sit for the exam. Now, you need to report this fulfillment of the eligibility requirement on the PMP website when you go to register for the exam. They will not check if you actually respecting it. They have 1 out of 10 people will be checked. They will be audited. And actually, I got audited when I registered for the exam, and that means collecting a bit of documentation like degrees, get a signature of people that are actually witnessing that you had this project management experience, and other type of documentation, documents, your ID, that will be required. And you have to do a big, I would say, package of stuff, send it to US, to the PMI headquarters in US. They will review it, and then you will receive an email, and you will receive the authorization of the PMP on the PMI website to proceed to the exam. As usual, you will know that you will be audited only after you are already registered for the exam and you have already paid your exam fee. Then at that point they say, okay, we will give you the audit, and then you need to I would say provide your documentation before going to the exam. Here there is the credential process. How you get your credential for PMP? You submit you start an application on the PMP website. You register there, you start an application, and then you have 90 days to submit it. Submit the application means can I sit to the exam? Then you submit your application, you do your payment, and then you will know if you have been audited. And then you have 90 days in case you have been audited to provide your materials. If you are not audited, you are not among the lucky ones like I did to need to provide all this documentation, you will go directly to booking your exam. And you need to book this exam in 1 year from the day you get you pay. From the day you pay, actually, you do your application, you need to register for your exam. Then the certifications are, you do the exam, and if you, let's assume that you do the exam and you pass it. The exam is an 200 multiple questions exam that lasts for 4 hours. It's quite long, and 25 of these questions are actually not applicable for the exam. They are just test questions that they check in case in the future they want to modify a bit the exam. Once you get the certification, you have 3 years to keep it, because the certification will expire after 3 years unless you get your PDUs, your professional development units. The professional development units, you get them through attending other courses, attending webinars on the on the web, on the PMI website, or also doing your job. The PMI is quite open. You can just also put there things that you have done, writing articles for PMIs. There are many activities. Certainly, if you put something about your job or articles, you should always be careful about NDAs, intellectual property. I never did that. I always attended seminar trainings that are easier to get PDUs instead of writing articles or sharing things of your work that can be sensitive to some contractual issues and things. Then, if you don't get your PDUs, you have 1 year to be in line. Otherwise, you will have to get the exam again. It's very easy to get the PDUs. My PMP certification is expiring in April 2016. I'm already okay to renew it. The only thing, as usual, once you get the PDUs, you need to pay to renew it. I didn't pay yet because I will pay in 2016 when we'll be closer to the expiration. Now it's still valid. But also, as for the PMP, let's always be careful because this organization are always creating you fees and update of documentation, things that they will always need to pay something, and these things have to be done if you really need them. Now, this is the PMP. We've seen that the Prince2 was a cylinder. The PMP is a matrix. On the, I would say, on the columns, we have the different project groups that we were mentioning before. On the rows, we have what are known knowledge areas. And the integration of the project groups and the project areas gives you the processes, the real processes that you need to follow. These processes are giving to you the input, the output, and the tool and techniques that you have to use for each of these processes. Now, here, different from the Prince2, we do not have a nice flow chart where we can put together all these processes. One of the exercises that we did during the PMP exam preparation course, that the trainer gave it to us, get these processes and give me a flow chart. It's actually impossible to do it because these are all linked together and different from the Prince2, because the Prince2 is really a methodology. It gives you a methodology, a standard that you take it and you say, okay, I have a Prince2 project. While the PMP is not oriented to certify the project. Even if you get Prince2, in the case of Prince2, you certify a project as Prince2 if it's following the Prince2 methodology, and the people that know the methodology can get the Prince2 certification. In the case of PMP, we do not have projects that follow the PMP methodology because the PMP is not a methodology, it's a way to certify people. It's, I would say, people oriented, people knowledge oriented more than project implementation, project methodology oriented like the Prince2. Then what you learn here when you go through the PMP standard are all things that in theory you should have already known from your project manager experience, because we have seen that to be PMP certified you have to be a project manager. And also through the knowledge areas that are project integration management, scope management, time management, cost management, quality, human resources, communication, risk, procurement, and stakeholders. These stakeholders has been added now in the 5th edition of the PMBOK. When I did the exam, all the stakeholder processes were included in the communication part. But since the stakeholder, who is the stakeholder? The stakeholder is anybody that has an interest in the project. That means it's people that are part of the project board, the project manager, people that are supporting the project, the team managers, customers, potential customers, people that can be interested in the future. You should always take all these people that can have an interest in the project that you are implementing into account and manage the stakeholder relationship. Now, if we go to the next slide, we can start, then we can have a summary of the differences and commonalities between these two standards. We've seen that the Prince2 is certified by Axelos UK and the PMI is more US based. The Prince2 is really a UK, we say it's really like a UK based standard, sponsored in a way, endorsed by the UK government. There are 3 levels of certification that are possible, while the PMP is just the PMP certification. The certification of duration for the Prince2 is 5 years for the practitioner. After that, you need to renew it. while the foundation is like permanent. You don't need to renew the foundation. While the PMP is 3 years, but after these 3 years, we have seen before, you just need to renew it, earning your PDUs. You don't need to do another exam. You need to redo the exam only if you really lose the certification, because after the 3 years you don't get it, and after the 1 year that they give you as credential suspension, you also don't get it. Then you have to redo the exam because you actually lose the credential. Which is the scope of this standard? In Prince2 is to provide a methodology to manage the process, and you can really have Prince2 projects. While the PMP, the scope is to certify people, to give the credential, to say, okay, this person is able to lead and direct a project. Now, is project management experience required for Prince2? No, it's an academic way. Yeah, it has an academic approach. You study, you take the exam. PMP, no, you need to have your project management experience. You have to demonstrate that you have experience in the famous 5 process groups of the mentioned by PMI, defined by PMI. Now, there is still something strange, because you can actually take the Prince2 practitioner exam without having the Prince2 foundation exam, because there are certain certification that allows you to attend the Prince2 practitioner exam. One of the certification is the PMP. Then in theory you can do the practitioner exam without having done the foundation exam, because you got the PMP. This is a bit I would say complicated, but it's one reason more of why doing the PMP before the Prince2, in case you want to get both the certification. Next slide, we also have another comparison among the two. I got this diagram from a friend of mine that attended this International Cost Engineering Conference in Milan last October, where this Paul Giammalvo presented a paper about the project management credential compared against the US professional engineering license. What does it mean? I read the paper, was not so, I think the paper was not so valuable because it's not really giving you the value of the different certification. It's just making a comparison on the effort that you need to get different certification. But it's anyway a parameter that could be used by an organization to see a certification more valuable than another. The parameter this guy used was actually the hours. He put like a threshold that is related to the hours required to get a US professional engineer license, seeing it like a widely recognized standard certification. Like, okay, nobody can say that the US professional engineer license is not a valuable certification. Let's get it as reference point, as benchmark. And we can see here the PMP is actually getting there. It's at the level of effort of the US professional engineering license, while the Prince2 is quite far away, because we have seen that to get the PMP you need the experience, you have to be working. The Prince2, you can just go there. Actually, for the PMP you need the degree, at least a secondary degree, and the working experience. For the Prince2 you just go there, study, take the exam. Now we can go to the last slide, where we have some conclusion recommendation. One of the reasons of this presentation was also to reply to the question, I would like to do a project management course, I would like to get a project manager certification. Which one do I do? Yeah, actually the answer is not straightforward. It depends on your need. As I also mentioned at the beginning, I understood that there are some customers like NATO that may start to require Prince2 certified people to work as project manager for their project, because they want to have Prince2 projects implemented. Then first thing to be checked is if your employer or your customer or your potential customer is requiring some of this certification. This is the first thing to be checked, because this is really a practical reason to attend one of the courses. Second, if you don't have project management experience, not even experience that can be translated in project management, you can simply not do the PMP. Then I think you have an obliged direction, that is the Prince2, if you want to have a project management certification. This is the reason why at the beginning I got before the Prince2 and then the PMP, because at that time I could do the Prince2 because I didn't have already enough project management experience. Now, if we instead you have the project management experience and you have you don't have any constraint from your customer or from your organization, I would recommend to go for the PMP. Why? Because the PMP is really certifying that you can lead a project. It's something that is adding you to yourself and more, I would say, recognizable everywhere. In theory, the Prince2 certification is something that is recognizable only if you are doing a Prince2 project. If you are not applying the Prince2 methodology, in theory, this should not be so recognizable. The PMP instead is certification that is giving you the credential to manage any project. Also, the PMP is easier to renew than the Prince2. Now my certification is expiring from Prince2. I will need to redo the practitioner exam before April 2016. And also, as I was saying before, if you want to do both of them, start with the PMP, because then when you get to the Prince2 courses, you will get the required PDUs to keep your PMP certification. And also, sometimes you can also skip the foundation exam with the PMP certification I was saying before. You go directly to practitioner exam. I anyway recommend to do also the foundation exam, because the theory you have to learn to pass the practitioner exam is the same or the foundation. But this is another reason why to do first the PMP, that you first start to be certified. Yes, you are a project manager. And then you do the Prince2, say, okay, I'm a project manager, I'm certified, I can do any project, but I also know the Prince2 methodology. So mentioned I did the opposite for different reason, and all the hours that I did to attend the Prince2 courses were not recognized after the PMP certification, because as PDUs to keep your certification are valid only the ones that you gain after your certifications. I think this was the last slide. I don't know if there are any questions. I hope things not sleeping or eating. I didn't see any reaction at all.
Thank you, Gianluca. Don't worry. After all, it's a lunch lecture. Even if they were eating, it doesn't mean that they were not paying attention.
Yeah, no, it's true, it's true. I'm actually starting to be hungry. I think I will eat something. But okay.
I see that there are some first people writing. Maybe we get some questions. Even new people are joining now. So. I just wanted to let you know that you all have them, the participants, the rights for the audio use. If you would like to
say to the participant.
Yes. So if you would like to ask some questions to Gianluca for the presentation, either for PMP or Prince2 or... It's the time. I don't see any questions, so this means that probably it was very clear.
Actually, Paulina, this is Gareth. Can you hear me?
Ah, hi, Gareth. Yes, we can hear you.
How are you? Actually, I have a question for Gianluca about this. I've just recently taken the Prince2 certification, both foundation and practitioner. And one of the points that I kept on thinking during the course of that course was just trying to figure out how this might not only apply possibly to ESA projects, but also how do you set about sort of applying the principles in the case where you're responding to a tender rather than commissioning or thinking about an internal activity? Because things like defining the project management team, that's something that you have to propose to them as part of the tender package, right? So you're already moving away from the principles of Prince2 from the very first stages.
Yes, it's true. Because actually one of the things that you need to have a Prince2 project, and then both customer and supplier then shall follow the Prince2 methodology. Because if you get a statement of work where the team and the process you have to follow are not in line with the Prince2 methodology, you are already not following it. Then the only way to get a real Prince2 project is that both customer and supplier are following it. In fact, one of the things I was mentioning usually is most important. Sometimes it's really more important that actually the customer is the one requiring the Prince2 applicability, because it's the one actually giving the instruction and the requirements more than the supplier that then comes with a proposal that if already the request you get was already not in line with the Prince2 methodology, you can just not apply. I think anyway the Prince2 is giving guidelines, documents, product descriptions that you can use anyway. In other, I like a lot how they talk about risk management, and it's something that I always try to take into account when I write the proposal and put in consideration the risk management, because it's very clear and it's very digital, while sometimes we have confusing information in the, I would say, in the normal life, or just a customer. This is just a customer writing a statement of work, can be more confusing than instead applying a recognized standard to this thing. But certainly, if you don't apply the full standard, you are not having a Prince2 project.
This is true. I agree with you completely. And working on ESA projects, then the most obvious area where they deviate from Prince2 all the time is in the area of change.
Yes, that's true. But I think, for example, something that they really follow the Prince2 is the team, they follow it. Because I see really this board, like a CDR board, like an acceptance board, the project manager, like the technical officer in ESA. If you look at the ESA structure of a project, I think it's very in line with the Prince2. This is why I always say, suggest it to have a look at the comparison between DCSS, MST 10C, and the Prince2 standard. But yes, I didn't think about change, but for change would be different. Now it's a bit of time that I did the Prince2 certification. I really don't remember all the change processes and products that are requested by the change team, but I found a lot of similarities with the way ESA is managing projects, especially for the Prince2.
Okay, that's interesting. I suppose that just looking at it retrospectively, immediately after the certification, then the comparison of the structure within ESA and the way they work was not as immediately obvious. But it's interesting to have your viewpoint being slightly different, with the benefits of experience, and maybe the benefits of working on slightly different programs as well.
Yeah, this is also true. This is also true. Can vary. It's true.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gareth.
Thank you very much, Gareth. I don't know if anyone else would have a question, either by typing in the chat box or by using your microphones. Well, each of the certification has its own favorable area and expertise, and therefore a choice between the two depends on factors, you said. So the ideal choice is based on the company, on the type of project, and even on trends. As you said, in the UK is more favorable the Prince, while in the US the PMP.
Yes, actually, no. The fact that the Prince2 is really quite it's widely recognized in UK, because it was actually in a way sponsored by UK government. It's a standard that UK governments recognize. But I think if the organization is liking to methodology, they decide to do Prince2 projects. The PMP instead is different because it's really on the person. No? You say, okay, I can manage project, whatever project it is. This is why it's a larger applicability. The Prince2 is applicable if you manage a Prince2 project. The PMP is applicable to any project. It's just saying that you are a project manager. Then I think that the question is my organization using Prince2 or not? If it's not using it, it's convenient just to have the PMP. Or if in the future you think that Prince2 is going to be used, then you get it. But I think the PMP is the most generic one. It is the one that is giving you the credential of being a project manager at the end.
It's interesting. Thank you, Gianluca. I think it's a good conversation, but it's time to conclude. Thank you very much all for your questions and your interest, and thank you very much, Gianluca, for your presentation.
Thank you all, and thank you too, Paulina.